Nice T-shirt. I like that.
Yeah. Oh, I got. So this was actually the grey ones are from when I did that on-site one with Akama. The black ones are mine that I got ordered, and then they gave me a load anyway. I was like, sweet, don't have to buy any more.
Did you speak public? Did they speak publicly about you doing the workshop for them?
Yeah.
Okay, so no, so we can leave this whole bit in.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't said anything stupid yet.
This is not holding true to normal form. All right, let's get into it. Since we're here and we're both kind of shattered, tired for different reasons. Well, not for different. Some of the same reasons. I mean, we both flew here to London. We're now in my exotic hotel room.
I'm surprised at how not great this hotel is. Actually,
boy. So we're in a Hilton, and I mean, you and I we booked this not that long ago, actually, only a couple of weeks ago. There's one weird thing. It's like when you travel, you know how you can go to the same hotel chain in two different places, and one place it's awesome. Like in Sydney, the Hilton there is absolutely awesome. Really so we do the NDC events there, and they're awesome there. I stay there every time I go to Sydney because it's just such a nice hotel. And then we come here, and it's
kind of a bit
like you're basically just about sitting on my underwear. Right
yeah, it's literally like this is
bags there.
That's the wall, and then you can touch the wall.
I can touch the other wall just here. It's slightly longer than it's good actually that the room is slightly wider than the bed because otherwise. And then I stand. All right, I'm tall anyway, but you're tall too. You have the same problem. You stand in the shower. It's like, why is my head touching the roof in the shower?
I got burnt on the halogen, so they got like halogen, like you know, you kind of like crouching down. You're like, oh, I'll just stand up like one normally does in a shower, and then I'm like, whoa, holy crap, like Bernie time.
Anyway, first world problems. We flew over here from the Gold Coast, from Brisbane on Tuesday. We got here, so it feels like only yesterday we did the one at the Marriott, right? Like we're sitting there, we had the epic sunset and everything.
Yeah,
that was nice. Got on the big plane, Dubai here. I think we figured 31 hours door to door, wasn't it?
Yeah, just over.
Yeah, it was a long time. So we did that, and we're going to have to work through all this chronologically because we've done a lot of stuff in the space of about 3 days. Actually, first of all, it was nice actually flying with someone. Like it's the same for you, right? Like most of the time, you're sitting there on your own, and it's just like even on this trip, I just couldn't even watch any movies. I was like, I'm just so freaking over airplanes and stuff. And I loaded a bunch of Netflix stuff.
Sad part was I was going through the movies and I'm like, there's nothing that I've not seen recently on an airplane. It's like, oh man, this should not be the thing.
But we just hung out in the bar at the back of the A380, which is really cool. Emirates has got this epic bar at the back, and you just kind of wonder.
But it's pretty awesome. Like it is literally like a full-on bar.
Well, it's good actually because I'll often sort of go back there myself for a little while, but it's kind of lonely. It's like that sort of the dude sitting on their own in a bar,
just nursing a drink.
Nursing a drink. It's so sad. So we got here Tuesday. I got a very small amount of sleep. You were going to have some sleep, and then you found a whole bunch of other stuff going on. Can you talk about that yet?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's come back to that because
I think
that's really interesting. Yeah. I got a little bit of sleep. You got no sleep, and then we went to the EU Blogger Awards. Now this was good. This was good fun. We were both up for a few things.
I was only up for one this year. The grand.
In fairness, Have I Been Pwned was up for one, which it really shouldn't have been up for. It was like the best corporate Twitter account. It's like how corporate is Twitter? Have I Been Pwned rather? I thought that was
corporate.
Anywho, so there was that one. I think I was in another one. I can't remember what it was. And then what was the one we were both up for? It was the Hall of Fame one.
The Hall of Fame blog. Ultimately the big.
How'd that work out for you, Scott?
I have one of those already. It's fine.
Well, in fairness, I have one.
It's like...
For those of you listening to the podcast, not watching the video, I did manage to get the European Cybersecurity Blogger Awards Hall of Fame for Industry Impact. Not European,
yes, I was just going to say, let's just clarify. Yes, the Australian did win the European Cybersecurity Blogger Awards.
They said it was like Eurovision or something, right?
Eurovision, man. No.
So anyway, that was a good night out. We did that. Oh man, I was tired by the end of it though. So
literally And for the people that travel, they'll know with jet lag, you don't, like a normal day, you get progressively tired through the day. Yeah. With jet lag, it's like, you're okay, bam.
Yeah. No,
you're immediately asleep. It's so crazy.
All over the place.
It's really weird.
So I did that, and then yesterday, Wednesday, oh well, someone's calling my phone. I wonder if will that actually...
fucking hell, this is the worst thing I've ever seen you do. It's like, you're literally that guy at the tourist attractions in London taking fucking photographs with their iPad. Like, oh boy.
I think I'm just going to start it again.
So we've learned that if you're recording a video on an iPhone and you get an incoming phone call, it kills the recording.
And then I'm making some bookings and things. I had to take some photos and stuff, and I'm like holding the iPad up, trying to take photos
you're like
of
that,
my driver's license.
You're like that person at the Tower of London with their iPad like this, giant iPad taking pictures.
I
It's
don't know if you saw this, but someone,
jeez.
just to change the subject off me for a moment, I saw someone tweeting a photo today. You know how Apple launched the new monitor, and then there's like the monitor's like $4 or $5 grand or something, and the stand's like $1,000. There's this photo of people holding up their iPads taking photos of the $1,000 stand, and the caption was just something like, "This is the most Apple thing ever."
I just don't get the true thing that I don't get with that. To digress a little further, is that you can buy essentially like a supercomputer that will go in your pocket for $1,000 or a piece of metal.
Yep.
Like, how are the components in this iPhone the same price as
this
a stand?
Is a valid
like
question.
That's the thing that I really don't understand. Wait.
What are we doing before we end up here?
I don't know. This completely threw us.
This is the other thing that jet lag does. It's like your concentration just goes totally out the window. All right, so we were talking. We did the Blogger Awards Tuesday night. Then we went on Wednesday to InfoSec EU.
Yes.
So we were here last year, also doing Blogger Awards, also doing the other awards.
InfoSecurity Awards. InfoSecurity Magazine.
Anyway, that was the year that we got the Report URI thing for Best Emerging Tech, wasn't it?
That's right.
Which was an epic trophy too.
That was, yeah.
Where have you got that? Is it somewhere nice?
On my desk at home.
It's on your desk.
Never going anywhere else.
If anyone ever breaks into your house, that will be like that.
Yeah. You know. If I can pick it up and throw it, it would be great.
So, how did you kill the intruder? I hit them with the. Jeez. Yeah, it's like just solid metal. It was amazing, solid metal. All right, so we went and did InfoSec, and that's like you tweeted some photos. And it's massive. I mean, it's a massive arena. There are so many companies out there, like every InfoSec company.
And
you've
the
ever
photo I
heard of.
tweeted was just the main hall. Like,
It's just the main hall, like the stuff off to the
bit
side
off
as
the
well.
hall off the side, and then the balconies, and then the back room, and
so that was huge, and it's interesting because I'm kind of torn in different ways. Like on the one hand, we're just getting hammered by marketing droids. Like you and I are walking around, and there's a bunch of people coming up to us going, "Hey, it's nice to see you guys. Can we have a selfie? All this sort of stuff." And that's really cool. And then you walk. I remember we walked past that one stand, and this lady's like, "Hi, can I talk to you about how to secure your passwords?"
Like,
really? Okay.
Really?
I wonder what they might have to say about that.
It was funny. Can we say who it was?
No,
Okay.
That's who it was. That's who it was. Cause
That's mean.
But we had that, and it sounds so freaking obnoxious to say it as well. It's like, don't you know who we are?
But I guess, like, I don't know. Would you? Yeah, I can kind of see that from both sides. I was like, but really, like walking up to someone, and I had on my badge like the company, my name, my title of like security researcher, and I was like, there was a lot of visual cues there that perhaps that we didn't.
It was fun today. I was standing at the Microsoft stand. So I had.
So your employer has you at their stand.
Don't work for Microsoft. So I'm standing at the Microsoft stand. I got time to kill and look at my phone, and I'm just watching it. And there's someone talking, and like a flash, this person appears with one of the scanners because they all want to scan your badge. And she walks up, she scans the badge to do it, and I kind of look at her like this, and then she actually looks at my badge, and my badge, for those of you not watching the thing, says founder Have I Been Pwned, Microsoft Regional Director. Now, even people within Microsoft don't know what a Microsoft Regional Director is a lot of the time. Plus, the people scanning the badges, I suspect, would just hired help. But then she sees the title, and she's like, oh, sorry. So I'm not even going to explain that this doesn't mean I don't work for Microsoft. But anyway, now I'm on a mailing list somewhere.
Do you not use like a black hole email address for those?
No. In fact, what I did is
You're going to pay for that.
I took a scan of your barcode and I stuck it over mine. I was honestly having that thought as I was walking around. I was like, okay, that would have been super cool.
I always register like Scott Helm plus whatever at hotmail.com, and then when it's an alias that I just don't like, it's just like boosh, gone. Goes straight into the black hole.
It was weird. Sorry. Why am I trying to book things at the same time?
Multitasking,
all right.
fail.
Back to here. So anyway, walking around the InfoSec hall,
We saw lots of companies that we were friends with.
A lot of companies we were very good friends with, or still are very good friends with. I mean, things like Pen Test Partners. Pen Test Partners, Ken Munro. You guys have done a bunch of stuff together. He and I did the thing with the kids tracking watch a little while ago as well.
We have another thing coming out soon that's going to be really awesome.
Okay.
Like really big as well.
I suspect you can't
really
talk about
big.
that one yet.
I cannot.
We'll talk about that later on. So yeah, that was cool. Ken actually was in my talk today as well because I messaged him beforehand and said, "Look, I'm going to have the kids watch up in my keynote."
Oh, cool!
So he came along, and sort of I could see him up the back of the room because he was in this. What do we call the outfit?
It's a boiler suit.
It's like a jumpsuit with fluoro or
like full blue boiler suit with like fluoro strips.
And the context was we saw that they had their stand set up like a control room or something, wasn't it? And they were talking about various penetration testing exercises they've done, and they were sort of playing certain roles. They made it really entertaining. What I really like about those guys is that there were no marketing droids. It's like you went there and it's like these are the people who are actually breaking into the systems and doing the stuff. So that was actually really good. Like I was happy seeing that. So he did a good job. What else did we see? I guess the sort of juxtaposition of it is on the one hand there's people like Ken and a bunch of people who came and wandered up to us and wanted to just chat, and on the other hand it's very very rah marketing.
Oh yeah.
I was tempted to go through and do like photos of every appearance of the word cyber, and then I realised I didn't have the capacity on my phone.
Yeah, it's literally
because I've only got like the 1 terabyte
cyber
phone.
overload.
It was over the top. Hoodies and stuff everywhere.
But what was the best one? What was the best banner? Do you remember?
Oh, next generation blockchain.
I was just like, oh my god, someone wrote.
Someone literally had
next generation
wasn't even a banner
blockchain.
though. It was one of the InfoSec EU standard, stand
Like
titles.
the title.
Next
of the
gen
booth.
blockchain. So, okay.
Next generation blockchain. I'm like, what?
I'm not sure who we just threw under the bus here, but they didn't have a big stand, so they can't have been.
Well, I mean, not trying to throw them under the bus. I just like what? Like this is the most questionable title that I've ever seen on a stand.
It was odd. So anyway, we did that, and then we went over to B-Sides as well. And B-Sides is always like the ultimate conference, right?
Yeah.
Much more community-centric atmosphere. They did actually have some sponsors and
there's like, but it's very much like a non-sales, non-marketing event.
But it was just super cool, and we met a bunch of our friends there, people that we know already, other people that we've known online and then met in person, which is always really nice.
Yeah.
Very, very sort of warm community feeling, wasn't it?
Yeah, I do like the B-Sides events. They are really good. And they have local chapters all over the place, so wherever you're watching from, there's probably a local B-Sides event. They're generally free tickets as well, so it's always worth checking out.
And we did a thing with the beer farmers. You want to explain what the beer farmers are?
I'm not even sure how they came to be, but they're essentially just like a collective of like-minded security people that wanted to present talks at conferences, but without
necessarily going solo.
Without going solo, without it being like corporate-y or anything like that. They're just a really cool group of people, and their talk was like very much laid back, very much not not like a typical talk, I would say.
Packed room, packed room.
But yeah, literally, like it was literally standing room, and people sat at the side and stuff. So yeah, it was really good, and they're just all really nice people. The talk was like very level-headed. There's no fanciness. They weren't trying to drop some major security exploit. It was just very much like very approachable, very down to earth, and very reasonable advice, I thought.
And you and I did little cameos as well.
I
threw have I been pone stickers at people. That was fun.
Yes.
Because I'm like, it's England. They really are worried about the health and safety, and I'm just like throwing stuff out.
Got these giant pieces of wood, essentially, a big pack of paper, and it's like, toss this into the crowd.
You got an award from them. What did you get?
Yeah, so I got most cultivated hairdo, which I think was reasonably,
What'd they give you?
Well positioned. So I got a can of gold hairspray because the theme was gold throughout.
Well, in fairness, a gold can of hairspray, because I'd actually like to see it being a can of gold hairspray.
Was it gold? Oh, so it was. Oh, okay.
Well, you've not used it.
No. Natural. So yeah, that and some gold dice for my car.
Okay, nice.
So
I got the golden cowbell.
That's like.
That's actually
somewhat
super
offensive.
loud.
Yeah, that's like, thanks for that.
Which what was it even? It was like contributions to information security.
Something cowbell.
I don't know. I was just too focused on the cowbell. But thank you very much for that, guys. So we did that, and we hung out and had some beers with those guys, and then we were sort of
Hit
the
the
jet
wall.
lag was hitting in. And
Literally.
I think the plan was like we walked out of there and it was like a 35-minute walk back to the hotel. And I'm like, okay, the walking's good for you. And original plan was let's get some food along the way. And by about halfway, I was just like, yeah, I know what food is. Food is like laying on my hotel bed having room service.
Yep.
Which it ended up being.
You know, again, I'm always really aware to complain about stuff like that, but it's just such a killer. Like
I know.
It comes to you and it gets you, and you're done.
The problem is, and I think we've discussed this before, like if you go and look at our tweet thread, everything looks awesome because you share the things that I guess you think people will like, that they'll find interesting. I would say I wasn't tweeting anything at 2 a.m. this morning when I was awake with jet lag, feeling like shit. Anyway, so there was that. So I did that. Then today you did Hack Yourself First because you were in a t-shirt.
Hack Yourself First day today. Private workshop. Not sure if I can name the company because they haven't tweeted about it publicly yet.
Don't name them if they don't say it. You never know.
Yeah, if they've tweeted about it, or sometimes they take pictures and tweet them and whatnot, then I'm happy to talk about it. But private workshop, smallish group. We've got like 16 people in there, which is really good because you get to spend a lot of one-on-one time. Yeah. And you get loads of, because they're all from the same organization as well, you get loads of like really focused questions to their specific needs. And I really
Rather
like
than
that.
like the spread of an open workshop.
Yeah, so you've got an open workshop. Everyone has like different questions, whereas, when they all know each other and work on the same applications, like someone asks a question and it naturally leads into like a whole kind of round table almost. And yeah, it's really different. Like the difference between a group of essentially strangers and a group of people from the same team, it's a completely different experience. And I do like that a lot when you get to really get into the crux of like questions that they've got and spend time on that. It's really good.
Okay, all right. So that's your day. So my day is I was back in InfoSec. I did a keynote. Actually, got the Hall of Fame thing today. So I do actually really have the certificate now as well. Which is that for those of you looking at it.
Let me check. Probably Detroit.
It's actually got a big bold "Have I Been Pwned" in it as well, which is nice. So I went up on stage, got the award, and then I did a talk, and it was Rise of the Breaches. It's basically like how many data breaches there are, the fact it's often kids doing it. Spoke about the Nissan Leaf, which you're involved with as well. Spoke about the watch, which I mentioned before.
That's really cool.
And that was it. And then, actually, I forgot to mention this yesterday as well. Basically, yesterday and today, I must have done like a dozen different press things and interviews where they just kind of whisk you off from one thing to the next. And it's like, you're done, now run off to here because you've got to... it's... I guess it's part of what we've become, but it's still a bit of an odd thing.
It is really weird, experience-wise. Like I find,
do you find the selfies weird?
Yeah,
in fairness, though, I don't think either of us say that insofar as don't come and do selfies because they're really nice.
Totally. I just don't.
But it's why.
Like that's the bit. I don't mind. I've done it myself in the past in other scenarios, so I can understand the desire, but just not with me. Like that's the part that freaks me out a little bit. I'm like, really?
It takes some getting used to. I think is the main thing. But it's super nice, and I think it must sort of take some guts as well for people to go, there, because I put myself back in that situation. I think about, like 10 years ago, if I had seen someone that I really looked up to wandering around, it would have taken a lot for me to go up and not only say hello, but then say, can I take a photo with you?
Yeah. It is.
But no, do that if you see us around because it is actually really nice. And I don't, the interesting thing is I can't ever think of a negative experience that I have had at a conference with people face to face. Yeah. We've been talking a lot lately about how many times experiences are online that just become negative. You've had
Twitter,
some this week.
Like, Jesus, man.
Yeah.
I was looking at my tweet deck the other day, and literally week on week, all my tweet deck stats are just red because I'm just.
You tweeted from. I must put a note in here because then people can go through and just find this stuff themselves. You tweeted when we were in the airport in Sydney, Brisbane.
Yes.
Tweeted a photo of the Emirates Lounge Wi-Fi password, and it was basically it was like Emirates with character substitution or something.
Yeah, like capitals and numbers and usual stuff.
And your point was very valid. So you tweet a photo or a picture of the thing, and you sort of said, why would you bother making this so complex?
So it's a really complex password to log onto the Wi-Fi that's literally engraved onto metal plaques placed all around the room, and it's on the poster on the wall.
Quasi-public.
So yeah, I mean, essentially, it's anyone that can get into the lounge or come to the lounge door and look into the lounge. But anyway, it's public essentially. it's like if you're going to have a really, really strong Wi-Fi password with all this character substitution and crazy stuff, and then make it publicly available, and it's literally engraved in plaques, so it's not like they change
they don't change it every month.
Like, you know, and incidentally, like we went and looked online and found postings of it online from literally years ago, and I was like, you know, I was just making the point that this just makes it really hard to type, and there's no tangible benefit when the password is
fair observation,
publicly...
a reasonable person would say.
Oh,
but you're
man.
wrong.
Like,
people got upset with it. And what I find interesting is the desire for people to spend their time expressing to you how upset they are with the fact that you
said a thing.
Have done. It's just like irrational. And the thing again is that those same people would never approach you at an event like we've been at the last couple of days and come up and behave that way. Now, maybe sentiment gets lost in translation on the internet. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just dicks. Like it could be either one of these things.
But and you know, you're limited. Like then people will be like, oh, you know, ask questions, and you're limited to the context of like 280 characters are we on now, whatever, on Twitter, and it's like. You know, I don't want to go into the nuances of Wi-Fi. Like I was just making a really quick passing comment of an observation. I was like, oh, well, this is kind of pointless. Take a photo, post it on Twitter. And then 3 hours later, I'm questioning my life choices because it's like, geez, just shh. Like, I get it, right? It was just a quick passing comment. It's not like...
Yeah, I get you.
Boy.
Get you. All right, let's talk about a couple of other industry things because there were some interesting things this week. And... the first one I thought I'd talk about here, and I'm not sure how much across you are on these things. I think we discussed some of them. Westpac, so one of our big 4 Aussie banks, had a bit of an issue. Headline here is almost 100,000 Australians' private details exposed in attack on Westpac's PayID. Now, their PayID system popped up a little while ago, and basically the way it works, and I'm going to read from the article here, is PayID operates like a telephone book, allowing anyone to type in a mobile number or email address and have it confirm the name of the corresponding account holder. So it's effectively enumeration by design, where you put a little bit of information into the system and then it comes back and says, here's more information about it.
Are not mobile numbers like...
well, mobile numbers, I guess, would be enumerable. There'd be a lot of them, but it does also adhere to a pattern. Yeah. So, you know, you could kind of narrow it down. And this is what someone has done. They've literally gone through and pulled out the private details again of almost 100,000 Aussies. Now, I remember when this first launched, and I'm pretty sure I did some interviews on it at the time. I sort of said, and in fact, I'm quoted in here as well. Sort of said,
it was a great idea.
No, that's whoa, don't get carried away. I'm somewhere down here. And I kind of made the point that, look, this is the sort of thing which I can see the convenience upside. So if you enter someone's phone number and then it comes back and says, hey, this is the person you're paying, you know, is this correct? Are you sure about this? Okay, that's good. That's convenience and usability. But when you can just start randomizing numbers, or if you pull back directory listings of numbers, because we still have public phone books and things like this, then you have a bit of a problem. So it looks like someone did manage to enumerate that. And it kind of, on the one hand, you sort of go, well, why would they allow 100,000 requests to this endpoint to pull back this data?
I mean, like they could have had a botnet and done 2 requests per IP,
that's
right?
the other thing, right?
Yeah,
and I've certainly seen the same thing in systems before. When people do have huge numbers of IP addresses and they can randomize every other observable pattern, it's hard. So short of like anti-automation, which then poses other problems as well, it starts to become a very difficult thing.
But if you know the phone number that you want to send the money to, like why would you need the confirmation back as the person sending it?
Well, what if you typoed the number?
But then, like, if I was to send it to an account number and a sort code, it wouldn't tell me that. What if I typoed a number there? It seems like the same...
Well, it's the same problem, but this is meant to, I assume, I'm not a Westpac customer, but I assume meant to address the problem.
Okay.
So anyway, they're in the headlines. Now, I also tweeted around about this time when I was on the aeroplane. And mind you, very hard to send a tweet from an A380 on Emirates. The connection... and it wasn't just the bandwidth, it was the fact we kept getting de-auth from the network, and then we had to re-auth the network. Painful. If you're listening from Emirates, please fix that.
A giant metal tube at 40,000 feet going at Mach 0.9 didn't have good Wi-Fi.
I know. So the other thing that popped up, and in fact I was looking for references on this just before we started recording, and I found another interesting thing, was the ANU, the Australian National University, had a data breach.
This was like the 20 years of data one.
No, it wasn't that bad. It was only 19 years.
Oh, okay.
so
close enough.
Headline here, Australian National University hit by huge data breach. And The thing here is they've said, okay, universities confirmed an estimated 200,000 people have been affected by the hack based on student numbers each year and staff turnover. And it's really extensive information. So they're talking here about names, addresses, dates of birth, phone numbers, personal email addresses, emergency contact details, tax file numbers, payroll information, bank account details, passport details, and student academic records. And then the fact that it goes back 19 years. Now, there's about 1 or 2 fields worth of data in here which you think would be reasonable to keep for 19 years. Who graduated, for example? That seems reasonable for a university to hold on to. Now, without knowing the details, the way this reads, holding other personal information going back... Why do you have this for 19 years?
I can't remember if I mentioned to you that when I read the headline, and literally the first thing that popped into my head with that was, if you don't have it, you can't lose it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you really don't need all of that information for 19 years, surely. Like, there's no possible justification to and I can see how it happened, right? It's like, okay, we've got the database, we put the things in the database, and then we just keep going forward and putting things in the database.
Storage is cheap. It takes labor to actually have data retention policies and implement them. It reminds me of something else, and I said this today in an interview, and someone told me this before I did the congressional testimony, and I said, look, I'm interested in what people think I should say. And they said most organisations look at data as an asset, they never look at it as a liability. And I think that's sort of indicative of what appears to have happened here as well. Now, the subsequent headline I found when I was looking for this just beforehand is, China behind massive Australian National University hack, intelligence officials say. It's always China that gets blamed, isn't it?
But what attribution? Did they just roll out the attribution
maybe
dice?
It was a Chinese IP address. I don't know. Intelligence officials believe China may have been behind...
What?
Okay, well...
Santa Claus may have been behind it. Like,
that's probably a reasonable... Well... In fairness, there's probably been more attribution to China for data breaches than what they have to Santa. But regardless. Senior intelligence officials have pointed the finger at China as one of only a few countries capable of pulling off the hack. Well, now that reads like
based on what?
Certain. They got a lot of people. I don't know.
Oh, man. I love the attribution game.
Yeah, look, I mean, I guess the attribution thing's always going to be hard, and without something a little bit more tangible than this, this does feel very, very unsubstantiated.
Roll the attribution dice.
Might be the right word. In fairness as well, like if you were going to think about who would be incentivized to do this, well, but mine, like...
No, but if you're just playing it on the odds, then we're just betting, aren't we?
Well, they got a lot of people.
Like, yeah, they got a lot of people and they would like the data and, yeah.
All right, so 2 other things before we wrap up. And in fact, I've got to ask you about your thing from before as well. Huawei. So the Huawei stuff has been in the news a lot. And I put out a tweet the other day that garnered a lot of attention where I didn't think it would. And this relates to Google saying that they can't have Android anymore and they're going to have to go and do their own thing. And by all accounts, it sounds like Huawei has been working on their own OS, which may well still be Android-based anyway, isn't it?
I don't actually know, but
anyway,
would they still be I'm not sure if they'd still be able to have an Android base.
Isn't it all meant to be? Well, I guess it's meant to be open source, but are you meant to be able to? I don't know.
This would be interesting.
Someone can leave a comment and clarify. It's also partly jet lag. Like every time we just don't know shit, can we just blame it on jet lag?
Yep, there we go.
Anyway, the bottom line is that we're going to get to the situation where Huawei reckons, last I read, they're going to have their own OS up and running by the end of the year. That's going to run on Android, on Huawei devices. And then we're going to go inevitably from a 2-horse race to a 3-horse race. Because we effectively have a duopoly at the moment. Either you're running iOS like this guy over here, or you're running Android. And
Windows Phone.
Yeah, well, we all... Well,
there's like 7 people out there,
in fairness,
we can't leave them out.
It was probably still a duopoly, even when Windows Phone was there. Which is a shame, because Windows Mobile... I remember Windows Mobile 6.
What?
Well, but that was a thing. That was a very...
No, it's a thing, but it's not a shame that the thing has gone away.
I'm not saying it's a shame it went away. I'm just saying that Microsoft did have that. But mind you, BlackBerry also had stuff, and that disappeared.
It was written, wasn't it?
Well, Research in Motion owns BlackBerry.
Okay.
So anyway, they're actually still alive too. BlackBerry's still alive. Remember last year, BlackBerry actually had a stand at InfoSec, and they had the good coffee. Remember that? Or was it Twilio?
No, Twilio has the good coffee, because you can order via SMS, because they do SMS stuff.
That's right.
What did BlackBerry do?
I don't know. I thought they had coffee. Anyway, jet lag. But
Get out jet free.
the point of the tweet was to say, all the other shenanigans and things aside, and obviously there's a lot of political posturing with Huawei. There are probably many aspects to this which many of us don't understand, ourselves included. But if we end up in a situation where we no longer just have Google Android and Apple iOS, and there is an Android thing, and there's another operating system out there, and particularly the way these guys tend to, I was going to say tend to innovate, but then people go, yes, well, their innovation is borrowed a little bit. But they do have the ability to do very, very big things. And obviously they have a massive market in China. I think they have about 50% of the market share in China.
Wow.
They've got a very large, rapidly increasing market share the rest of the world as well. If we end up with a situation where there's actually another player pushing the other guys to do better, I think the competition is a good thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then people got upset about human rights. And I was like, why are you getting upset about human rights in China? The whole point was, this is again is why we're sort of backing off Twitter a bit. The whole point was that if we have another player forcing the other incumbents to actually push a little bit harder, that's probably not a bad thing. We'll have to wait and see how that one pans out. But, for all the other issues with Huawei and 5G networks and things, I do hope that there's another major player with an OS that pushes Google and Apple a bit further. Now, speaking of Apple, this was the last thing. The WWDC was on in the US during this week, and in fact, I think I first saw tweets coming out whilst we're on the plane, coming out very slowly whilst we're on the plane. And Apple's pushing what appears to be a privacy-centric central mechanism of authentication. I assume a little bit like the OAuth dance with other social media providers. You can log on with such and such. But they're promising to also protect your email address if you want to subscribe to various third parties and things like that.
Yeah, so that part sounded good. Like I can see.
Well, this is the interesting part, and also they're large enough, and they own something like 1 billion devices that are out there as well.
That this would really be impactful. There's one thing as well. It's like I saw a requirement where like if you have an app that does OAuth, then like you're going to be forced to have the Apple one as a thing.
Someone else mentioned this to me today as well. And this is always sort of the paradox, right? Where it's like, in some ways, that's not a bad thing because we've just got this cluster of different social media platforms that you can now use to authenticate.
Yeah.
And I still worry about the messaging for people. Hey, go and use this website. By the way, enter your social media credentials in order to use this totally unrelated website. That just seems an invite for phishing attacks.
Yeah.
It's a little bit difficult sometimes to separate what is a good security decision around things like not allowing you to use other social media providers versus what is just trying to own the market as well. Now, having said that, to try and put a positive spin on it, the privacy side of things is obviously big. I actually watched, whilst I was on the plane over here, because I didn't want to watch movies because I've seen them all, I watched the keynote from 6-8 weeks ago where they launched the TV service and this sort of stuff. And time again, the presenters kept coming back to privacy. So their changes to the news app. Privacy-centric, we're never going to get your news reading habits, all that's going to stay locally on the device. There's a gaming subscription. We're never going to track the games you play and the volume at which you play them. And then the streaming TV service as well. They keep coming back to the privacy point. And I felt that every time they said that, it was like, you're just referring to the fact that Google doesn't do that, eh? Google has a different business model, and they seem to be very much leveraging that fact. So it's just interesting to sort of see how Apple's carving out this privacy niche as well.
They have been, yeah. Now that you mention that, because we haven't spoken about it before, but it does, that makes a lot more sense now that you said that.
It's interesting. Have a listen in their communications, how many times Apple reiterates privacy. Now, before we wrap up, tell me about your tweet stream, because this was also something which kept you awake when you should have been having a rest when we landed here.
Yeah.
It was fascinating.
Oh, man, this is like so weird. So, whilst I was on the plane over, I got a notification through. So, I subscribe to something called Certificate Transparency Monitoring. I have a blog post on it. Maybe we can link to the Facebook thing.
Can you send it to me?
So, yeah, I'll link that over to you. Basically, if someone issues a certificate for scotthelm.co.uk or any of the other domains that I own, I get a push notification. Literally, it comes through on my phone, comes through my watch from Facebook. So they do this. This is really cool. So I was like on the airplane or somewhere, and it's like bing bong. I'm like, oh, someone's just issued a certificate for scotthelm.co.uk. And I was like, well, I'm on an airplane. Like, I'm not sat at my computer issuing certs, and I also know when all of my automated jobs renewal fire, and it was not that day. So they all renew at the start of every month. And I was like, wow, this is like a bit strange because I haven't done this, and it was also not my usual CA, which is Let's Encrypt or Cloudflare with Komodo contracts. So I was like, sorry, Komodo CA, no Sectigo. And I was like, this is really odd. Like, you know, there's something not right here. Really hard to debug things on a plane. So when we landed, I got back to the hotel and was supposed to have a nap. I was like, right, I'm going to look into this. And I was like, right, okay, so I've had a certificate issued for just the subdomain. It was like acme-test, which is a subdomain that I resolved to home for just like testing purposes if I want to try something out, use some new tooling or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm like not at home, and my thing at home is getting new certificates. Like, what is going on? Now, to have the domain resolve home, I use dynamic DNS. I use a Cloudflare API call to do that. And I was like, okay, so we'll look at the current IP of my home router because I can connect remotely.
So router?
Yeah, router. That's what we call them.
English thing.
What do you call them?
Router. Router in Australia is something very different. We won't go into that.
Yeah, okay, I'm not even going to ask what you weird Australians call stuff. So anyway, I noticed that my home IP is dynamic residential in the UK. They do change quite frequently. I'd noticed that my home IP had rolled, but the DDNS hadn't caught up yet. So that, you know, the domain was still resolving to my old one. And my first thought was like, wow, you know, that must have been reassigned to someone else. Like, oh my gosh, has someone...
So someone else has the IP address that your domain is pointing
resolving to. I was like, has someone like got a cert? And I was just like, no. Like, there's like a
Law
million... Oh, what?
Law of probability.
Yeah, I just looked at this and I was like, a million stars would have to align for that to happen. I was like, this just doesn't seem plausible at all. I was like, I wonder if the CA has done some like courtesy renewal and made the new cert, and now I can go collect it and bring it back. So I sent out a tweet asking, like, does anyone work there? Not security related. I just want to ask a question, just to not like start the mass panic sometimes. And someone got back to me from the CA and they were like, no, like, you know, we've checked the logs and a client called in and asked for this certificate to be generated. And I was like, well, hang on, like if a client's called in and asked for the cert and prove control of the domain.
When you say client's called in, it's not like a phone call. It's just like
no, sorry, this is like a programmatic client call from on the Acme protocol. So I was like, well, hang on, if a client's called in and got the cert, then they must have proved control of the domain, which means it must have been on my old IP.
Yeah.
But then I was still like, no, this like
the
chances of that just didn't make sense. So I reached out to a few of our friends in a channel that we have, like really, really smart PKI people. And I was like, look, this is a situation, like the only logical conclusion I have right now just doesn't make any sense. Like, what's the logical conclusion that I'm missing? So anyway, I spent like the whole afternoon debugging this, thinking like, oh my God, this is so bad. Like, if this is what I think it is. And eventually what I found was, for when you're using the Acme protocol, so Let's Encrypt or any of the CA, you essentially create like some kind of identity for the client. It's usually key-based, so you register with the service, create an account, and then you have an account with the service. So that account is proof control of scotthelm.co.uk, and they can, and this is the part that I knew that they could do, but not for so long. The CA can say, okay, this registered account has proof control of scotthelm.co.uk, and that validation then remains usable for 825 days without reproving control of the domain.
So was that like 2.5 years?
2 years, 2 months, because it's always, the validity period is always a year plus a month per year. So it's 2 years is the current max age of a cert, plus 2 months for the 2 years. So this like registered account has proved control of scotthelm.co.uk, so for the next 2 years and 2 months can request certificates without reproving control.
So it doesn't have to show that it controls the domain because that's already been proven.
And this is where we ended up. But then I was like, well, hang on, something must have initiated the call from my house. And I'd already checked all my cron jobs and my usual automation stuff.
Just like a normal person would.
Just like a normal person would, and their server in their cupboard at home. And eventually I found out that it uses systemd timers for certbot, which is the kind of like the default Acme client. Now, I didn't know this. I just run this tool like once for testing purposes, and it created this automated renewal job. And because it could call in without revalidating the domain, which resolved elsewhere, it got the cert, and I was like, oh, thank God, panic over. No one has like hacked me and got a cert. But I was so surprised that you can prove control of that domain once on your account and then get certificates issued for the next 2 years and 2 months.
So if you sell the domain.
So interestingly, this is one of the questions that came back, and I can see the kind of the concern that causes there, but we already had most of this problem. So let's say like you wanted to sell troyhunt.com So you get a certificate today, maximum age 2 years 2 months on a cert, and then you sell the domain tomorrow.
Yep.
Like you still got a cert valid for the next 2 years and 2 months on a domain that you just sold.
Yep.
So there was already like the potential for the certificate.
But now you can go and reissue them as well.
But now you can reissue it further into the future as well. And I knew that they could do that because I've used cache validations in the past. I just didn't realize that the validity period on the validation was the length of the certificate that is 2 years and 2 months. That's the bit that surprised me. So I was just like, wow. So like that script can sit there and get certificates for the next 2 years without ever being able to resolve the domain. I was just like, that seems
and
crazy.
This is why you're so jet lagged, because you didn't sleep.
Yeah, basically trying to sort this out. And
it was kind of funny watching you go through the motions of trying to figure out what that was.
But I just kept coming back to that same conclusion. I was like, no, like there must be something. Like this is impossible for someone to have got my IP. So that was funny. I mean, it's funny in hindsight.
Send me a link to the tweet thread, because that was kind of interesting. Now we are very rapidly approaching beer o'clock. And some decent. That wasn't great beer. Just
hey, you bought it. I agree.
I know, and I'll tell you what, I struggled to find anywhere too. I walked into one place and it was like Foster's. I'll give that to you, but I'm not drinking that shit. So anyway, we're going to head out. Last thing, sponsor this week is Varonis. So Varonis, they've got a link here to their DFIR team investigating cyber attack using their data-centric security stack. Just not a good thing to say, jet lag. Actually, Varonis was there today as well. I remembered last year when I was here, I was on the Varonis stand for a little while. In fact, last year, Varonis are the ones who got me out, and then I did a talk on their behalf. And in fact, I was speaking to them just this week on other matters as well. So it's nice to have all these relationships as well. Yeah. It's funny too, like I sort of saw them and a bunch of other people. Then I was sitting down at a table today just trying to do some work, and someone on the next table came over, and it was a Have I Been Pwned subscriber using it as well. So
nice.
Wow, this is like really bizarre.
It is odd.
But it's been a good couple of days. Now you're still workshopping tomorrow.
Yep.
And then you got the weekend off.
Well, I go home. Yeah, I have the weekend off. I go home tomorrow night and then I leave again on Sunday for the next batch of training. Next week's actually 4 days, so I got Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday of training. So yeah, I'm slightly regretting a double booking at this point in time.
I'm very close to being in your boat. I'm going off to Norway tomorrow, and then I've got workshops next week in Oslo, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then we're both going to be at NDC Oslo the week after.
Yes, so that'll be the next.
And we've got to do Cyber Broken again as well.
We do. Although I'm looking forward to that. It's a good talk. It's enjoyable.
So I think next week I'll come and do this one of mine. I'm going to have a massive announcement next week, which you know about, but we can't talk about yet. So I'll talk about that next week on my own, and then the week after we'll do it again from Oslo, maybe.
In the Oslos.
Awesome. Okay, well, thank you very much.
See ya.
See ya.